So why don't I ask the panelists now to comment in the same order in which they went. Marjorie, would you go first?
Yeah, I wanted to say something about the comment that Susan made that we're not at war, and we're not. This whole notion of the war on terror, and the Obama administration doesn't use it very often, but they do sometimes. Terrorism is not an enemy, it's a tactic, and you don't declare war on a tactic. And I think we need to be talking about it in that way. Evidently, according to Leon Panetta, the CIA director, there are no more than 50 to 100 Al-Qaeda fighters in Afghanistan. And so you wonder why we're sending more troops and more money and more people to be killed and to kill and be killed. One of the worst things, I think, that Obama is doing, in addition to killing civilians in Pakistan with the unmanned CIA drones. The other thing is that I thank you, I'm not sure of your name, but this Bolt Hall student, University of Berkeley Law School student, for saying what you said. And I think that it is true that the media the corporate media is very difficult to penetrate, and it's very difficult to get a lot of these things out in the national discourse. But we do have the internet, and that's an incredibly powerful thing, and I think that we need to rejoice and use that and exploit it. When we have WikiLeaks, we have websites, many of us have websites, we have blogs, we have people who write articles, we have progressive websites that publish these articles, and we need to, it's not out there for the taking. You can't open up the New York Times and find the truth on a daily basis. You have to dig for it. And so it means that there's even more of a challenge for people like us. We have to get out there and research, come to panels like this, educate ourselves, so that we can then go out into our communities and spread the word and organize people. And I'm very, very heartened with many of the initiatives that are happening here. So I think that, when you talk about torture and you talk about what's happening, it can be very depressing, but I think that we also need to be very upbeat, and not just because it's right, but because maybe it'll work as well.
Yeah. Thank you.
Pardon my self-indulgence in shifting my tone. First, you get hooded. You get cuffed so you couldn't budge. They take you to a cell. There's no lawyer. There's no judge. It doesn't matter what you did or didn't do if there's a grudge. Any reason anyone might have to give a nudge, because once you're in custody by authorities, you are done, son, because authorities presume guilt by association. You better confess, or it will be a hellish situation. There was a time our nation offered the world inspiration. Now our policies encourage human rights violations. They push you off a plane. You can't tell if it's night or day. You don't know where you are. You've never been there anyway. But here at Camp X-Ray, for years, you will stay. Welcome to the Terrordrome, Gitmo, Bagram. The president changes, but the abuses go on. We don't apply the law equally. We don't jail John Yoo or imprison Jay Biden. Meanwhile, millions of Americans rot in jails. A quarter of our planet's prisoners, males, females shackled to a gurney while giving birth. If you're lucky, you might escape rape first. There's violence committed by guards, prison gangs, entire enterprises to smuggle different things, but the one thing you won't find in any jail is justice. The courts, the judges, the system says trust us, but look close and you'll see different rules. It's mass incarceration for most of us fools, while the officials who authorize torture as a tool get paid to make new laws and teach at public schools. Welcome to the Terrordrome, Gitmo, Bagram. The president changes, but abuses go on. We haven't applied the law equally. We haven't jailed John Yoo or imprisoned Jay Biden. I'm not quite done yet. They blindfold you, put you on a table, strapped down. There's a doctor in the corner who makes sure you don't drown. You'll breathe only water until they bring you around. The whole world is listening, but never hears a sound. For weeks at a time, they won't let you sleep or sit or lie down. You have to stand on your feet. No one can visit you because there aren't any roads. When you pray, they throw your holy books in the commode. What happens to you, no one anywhere really knows. I hate to say this, y'all, but America wants more war. And it shows. Allegations of abuse, unanswered, grow and grow, turning hearts and minds abroad into our newest rounds of foes. Welcome to the Terrordrome, Bagram, Gitmo. The president changed, but we already know that we can't apply the law equally until we jail John U and imprison J. Bybee. Say, jail John U, imprison J. Bybee. Jail John U, imprison J. Bybee. Jail John U, imprison J. Bybee. One more time, jail John U, imprison Dick Cheney.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to follow that? That's just cruel, man. Really uncool.
He's selling it on iTunes, you know.
That was great. Okay, well, I only have a few points about all this work that I've done over all these years. There are only a few things that are wrong, really. You don't imprison people and call them enemy combatants or unprivileged enemy belligerents and put them in an experimental prison and have no end to that. If you're going to capture people, you either capture them in wartime and hold them properly and humanely as enemy prisoners of war, or you capture people involved in terrorism, involved in other things, who are criminal suspects, and you give them a fair trial. The issue of torture we've discussed extensively here tonight, all the many, many reasons why it's wrong. I won't go through them again, but everything that we've been doing this week has demonstrated all the different facets of its illegality, its uselessness, why it's wrong, why it's wrong, why it's wrong. There isn't a single good argument that anybody in this country or any other country can put to you, one single reason why any of it is worthwhile. It doesn't work, it's wrong, it's illegal. There's no arguing any of it. We've also spoken, some of us this week, about how long struggles are, you know, and I think back to the struggles that people fought to establish some of the rights that we take for granted, some of the equality that we have, some of the votes that we have, many of the things that actually far too many people take for granted, that were fought for years. If I look back through English history, there were people decades and generations ago being trampled under the hooves of the horses of the ruling classes in England who were fighting for rights. So things can take a long time, and we live in an age where we expect instant gratification in a lot of ways. But the things that happened to this country after the 9/11 attacks since 2001 are wrong, and they won't become any less wrong the longer time goes on. They remain wrong. So the crimes of torture and the crimes of all the other crimes of the war on terror are not getting any better the longer time lasts. So we have to stick with that struggle to make things right. I hope it won't take generations, but if it does, then we'll have to stick with it. Thank you.
Okay, now I guess we all have to step up. I think we're energized by kind of grappling with these very heavy contradictions we have, and I really appreciate what Janine was putting out here for us. This is not just a policy. This is not just a president. This is not a passing fancy. This is something that's really, as I said, foundational and fundamental. This is a basic illegitimacy. And the answer lies in people recognizing both that this is intolerable, what's being done when we live in a country that only recognizes the humanity of people born here, white, Christian, people of property, all of the people that the Tea Party is representing for. This is very, I mean, people are really right to be afraid of the Tea Party. Let me just say that. This is fundamentally a racist movement. And we are being herded into line, I'll say at the moment, to defend them on the basis of, well, at least, you know, we should be supporting the Democrats because it could be a lot worse if we had a Republican in, like maybe habeas corpus would not apply to Bagram detainees. Like maybe it would be okay for the government to spy on you. Like maybe it would be okay to increase and expand the occupation of Afghanistan because we have a new president. All of these things we have to grapple with because our reality is this is continuing. What do we have to base our hope and optimism on? The world does not have to be this way. It's just the way it is. The conscious energy of people in this room and people everywhere else who recognize and grapple with the truth is potentially transformative of the situation that we're in. We do represent, with our demands to stop torture and fire John Yoo, a really cutting-edge contradiction that this system can't get away with right now. This is being supported and legitimized by law, by the powers that be, by all the guns that back that up, and it doesn't have to be this way. It's not in the interest of the people in this country and the world. And it's really important that we resist it. And we keep the fearless truth-telling going on, even when it seems that we're in an extreme minority, and even when we don't know what the outcome of this is going to be. You never know when you're going out to the high schools, as we're going tomorrow. Raymond and myself and Andy are going into 2 different high schools tomorrow to talk to high school students. And when George is putting up his Arrest John Yoo posters all over Berkeley, several times a week, and when people are going out in orange jumpsuits, wearing the orange ribbons, you know, the audacity of war crimes, torture is illegal, putting this message in front of people, I think that has the potential to change what people know to be true, what they're thinking, and what they're willing to risk in terms of changing it. The world really can't wait for us to take action. It is up to us. And once again, we have to keep telling the truth, getting the word out there, and insist, absolutely insist, that we're not going to live in a country that legitimizes torture. Thank you.